Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Wednesday, hump day. Don't be a chump and don't you dare crump day version of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. WTF. What the... Yeah, with the facts, if that'll make you feel any better, right? All right, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the WTF Reports. And yes, as usual, I'm waging war with the mainstream press because they're just flat-out liars. And, sometimes it's not what they say. You know what they say. How do you tell when a politician is lying? Well, that's when their lips are moving, right? Well, the same thing could be said about the mainstream media. Yeah, they'll tell you the story about certain things, but sometimes they'll just flat out lie to you, or they just won't even touch an issue at all. And at this point, I would challenge any of you out there listening. I would challenge if anybody can tell me what mainstream news outlet, whether it be the mainstream networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, any of those, have any of them done any coverage whatsoever about the NDAA? Okay, how about the New York Times or the New York Post or the LA, newspapers or the Chicago Tribune? Have any of the news outlets done any coverage about the NDAA and the basic merging between our United States military with Israel or the United States intelligence with Israel? It was Section 224 of the NDAA, but they very quietly changed it to Section 219 and also Section 622. I haven't heard any news outlets talking about this. Now, I may have missed it. I'm not saying that they didn't. That's why I'm asking you people out there, if you know of any coverage whatsoever from the mainstream news outlets covering this particular story. And if you know of any, please call me. The phone number here is 215-867-8255. 215-867-8255. Call me. Let me know. I want to see it. Show me. Like the Missouri state says, it's the show me state. Okay? Show me. I want to see it because I haven't seen anything, and this is why people are running away in droves from the mainstream networks, and they're getting their news from social media. And yeah, I know that can be a little tenuous at times because there's a lot of misinformation being put out there too. There's a lot of people with bad intentions that publish stuff that created by AI, and it's BS. And there's some people that edit videos, and it's BS. So yeah, there's some landmines out there. But you have to learn how to wade through them. But the point is that as you do go through social media, and I don't go to TikTok very often at all. I just don't. I know that there's some good stuff there, but people take their TikToks and they post them on X. All right. And there's also Facebook. Facebook, I don't understand. All of a sudden, Facebook is allowing all kinds of very interesting posts. I don't know. Maybe it was because of what happened during the plandemic. And so, the censorship and the blocking and the deplatforming and all that other stuff that was going on. Same thing with YouTube, although YouTube is still up to their tricks occasionally. But anyway, I'm really curious if anybody out there can name or give me a site or anything like that, references as to any news network that has been covering this most important issue about merging our United States military with Israel. I mean, this is horrendously, this is over the top important. I mean, we're talking the needle has pinned out. All the sirens are blaring. All the lights are flashing. But none of the media is talking about that. Why do you suppose? Could it possibly be because the media is controlled by the very entity that's trying to take over our country? Could it be? Now, I'm not naming any one particular entity or person or anything like that, but we know it's Israel. And all you got to do is take a look at the affiliate. I mean, they're trying to tell us that, yeah, China's the big threat. China's taken over the country. China. Russia. Distraction. But the bottom line here is we all know. We all can see it. It's right in your face. And the whole world knows it too. This is the great, quote-unquote, noticing that's going on a global scale. And I would encourage anyone who is out there of the Jewish persuasion, I'm talking about the Old Testament Jews. I'm talking about the Jews who believe in the Ten Commandments. I'm talking about the Jews who believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm talking about the Old Testament Jews. Because the Old Testament Jews and Christians have a lot in common. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to do it today. Maybe I'll do it sometime later this week or maybe next week. But I would encourage you to go to Isaiah chapter 53. Chapter 53, Isaiah 53. Read it. Because I did. As a matter of fact, I read it on the air a couple of months ago. And let me see. I think I've got it printed out here. Big stack of papers. I got so much stuff. My little workstation is an absolute mess. And it's a shotgun blast of information here. But, I got to put this document aside here. Let's see, where would it be? Anyway, it's Isaiah chapter 53. It's some people of the Jewish of the Israeli persuasion call it the forbidden chapter. And there's a reason they do. Because when you read that in Isaiah 53, when you read that, then you have to apply it to, he was prophesying. And he was talking about the coming Messiah. All right, so when you read Isaiah chapter 53, and I will tell you, it is word for word identical to the King James version of Isaiah chapter 53. So I would highly suggest you get that. Like I said, I read it on the air, a couple of months ago. But I digress. The issue here is our country is being taken over, and the mainstream media is doing absolutely nothing to alert the public of it because of the fact that they're controlled by the same people who are trying to take over our country. It's as simple as that. So anyway, so if you know of any mainstream networks or news organizations that have been doing any coverage at all about the NDAA, I'd like to know about it. Because the only references that I'm seeing are online, are on social media. So don't tell me that, wait a second here. Okay, let me get that out of there. So please don't tell me that, you can't trust social media. Well, yeah, I know. I've already put a disclaimer out there. You got to be real careful about what you're seeing and saying, what's being said. But anyway, I got a whole bunch of different topics I want to get to. But right off the bat, I will remind you all that we're coming up on the 25th anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 attacks at the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, and, of course, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And I would ask you respectfully and humbly that you visit my website. Okay, my website is davevonKleist.com. And you can click on the 9/11 button there, and it'll take you to an area where you can click on the documentaries that I made on that particular issue. And anyway, the reason I wanted to do that is because we just have to learn how to connect the dots, how to, put the puzzle pieces together and use your God-given ability to think. Because it doesn't make sense. The whole thing never did make sense. If you want to solve a crime, there are three things that you have to have. You have to have motive, means, and opportunity. All right? So anyway, I want to just review that because I'm thinking about doing a special broadcast sometime in the next few weeks. I don't know. I might see if I can line up a couple of guests to join me. And because I want to revisit this whole thing and get people to think outside of the cage. Now, I want to turn the clock back to the 1990s, all right? Now, ask yourself how many world powers were there at that particular time. Of course, people will say, China, Russia, and the United States, and you'd be right, okay? But let's be a little historical. Remember that Russia was just reeling from a collapse. It used to be the USSR. The wall came down, and they went through some real difficult changes. And so Russia was not looking like it was a big threat to the United States, okay? And as far as China is concerned, well, you need look no further than your local Walmart or Dollar General store or Target or any of the other big box stores. And Notice how much stuff is being sold that is made in China. Okay, so they're a big business partner, all right? So they weren't looking to be a real threat at that particular time in the 90s, all right? So now we ask the question, what is the biggest business in the world, or at least in the United States? Some people would say big oil. Some people would say big pharma. And, you'd be right to a certain extent. But I don't believe that those are the biggest businesses. The biggest business, in my opinion, is defense contracting. The war machine, the Department of Defense. So, because that encompasses everything. It encompasses manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, the oil industry, you name it. Defense contracting and the military-industrial complex, that is the big business. Okay, so they have to protect businesses. You got huge companies like Boeing and Raytheon and General Electric, et cetera, that do hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in business every year. And what would happen to the U.S. economy if the military-industrial complex was to collapse? So not necessarily collapse, but being hit financially. So if you've got the biggest business, which is the military-industrial complex, all right, and you've got, back in the 90s, you don't see a threat from China, and you don't see a threat from Russia. These people make money from war, lots and lots of war, because they need to manufacture lots and lots of weapons and bombs and bullets and planes and you name it, tanks and, armored personnel carrier, you name it. We're talking billions and hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars that are flowing through the greasy, greedy fingers of the military-industrial complex because war is money. Think about it. If peace were to break out, they'd all go out of business. So, in the 90s, if there was no threat from Russia and there was no threat from China, ask yourself this common sense question. How financially secure do you think all of these contractors are feeling? Oh, man, we don't have any prospects for war. Crap, we got to figure out what we're going to do. They need war. They lust for war. They profit from war. They need war. So, in the 90s, they didn't have a threat of a major military strength, China, Russia, blah, blah, blah. They need to figure out how we could go to war. Okay? So, then there's the PNAC document, the Project for the New American Century. And it said right there that in order to galvanize Americans and legitimize any type of military actions in the Middle East, which of course has been going on for a long time, they would need, and I quote, a new Pearl Harbor event. Now, a lot of you regular listeners out there, you got your head screwed on, so you know what I'm talking about. So they needed a new Pearl Harbor, a new attack. All right, so now we're going after this as if it's a crime. Motive, means, and opportunity. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to establish a motive. So if the military-industrial complex and all of the contractors that are involved in that, and by the way, do I need to remind you what group of individuals is controlling these groups and controlling your media and controlling big pharma and controlling your big oil, et cetera, et cetera? I think we all know which group I'm talking about. So the bottom line here is that there's no threat of war between a superpower. We know that the military-industrial complex lusts and thrives and depends upon massive amounts of hardware being sold. They have to have a war to justify their existence. All right? Now we look at the World Trade Center in the 90s. Now, the World Trade Center was owned by the New York Port Authority. And the EPA had gone to the Port Authority and said, hey, you guys, we got this problem with the World Trade Center, it went up there in the late 60s and 70s. And at that time, they were still using asbestos as a fire retardant. And the asbestos is applied directly to the girders and the interior of the World Trade Center. So the EPA told the Port Authority, you've got a dirty building here, and you've got to clean it up. We'll give you 10 years to figure out what you're going to do. So The Port Authority saying, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We've got these two huge, monstrous buildings in downtown Manhattan, right in the heart of Wall Street. What are we going to do? Oh my gosh. Well, how do we clean it up? Well, in order to clean asbestos off the girders, you can't go into a building like the World Trade Center and say, take 10 floors at a time, strip them all down, and then sandblast all of the asbestos off of the girders. No, that asbestos is going to go everywhere. So that's not going to work. All right? So what else? What other options would they have? Well, maybe they have to deconstruct the building. They're going to have to tear it down. Oh my gosh, that would cost billions. That would cost more money than to build a new trade center. So they can't strip the building and blast the asbestos off, and they can't deconstruct the building. What the heck are they going to do? How do they clean up Wall Street from these two huge towers that have been declared by the EPA as dirty buildings? What are they going to do? Oh my gosh, that's a real problem, don't you see? And the PNAC said that, gosh, we need a new Pearl Harbor. Yeah, maybe if we have some sort of an accident. Yeah. And remember, we've seen videos of all these, buildings, apartment buildings, office buildings, sports stadiums that have outlived their purpose. And so they bring in a crew and they do controlled demolitions. And we've seen those. We've seen plenty of those. So what do you suppose they could do with these buildings? You can't just have a quote-unquote controlled demolition to take them down, because that would, it's right in the heart of Wall Street. Can you imagine the lawsuits that would be a result of such a thing? So what do you suppose they're going to do? Well, gloriously, along comes Larry Silverstein, and he decides that he's going to purchase the World Trade Center, which he does. And then he insures them, and he also insures them for a quote-unquote terrorist attack, which doubles the amount, the value. Well, right after that, we have the September 11th attacks. How convenient for Larry Silverstein. He got to collect double the amount that they were originally insured for. And they were able to get rid of these two albatrosses in downtown New York and Wall Street. Of course, they couldn't, all of the surrounding areas couldn't place the blame on anybody other than, who could it be? Osama bin Laden. Yeah, right after it happened, my gosh, every news network across the country was showing you video clips of Osama. Here's Osama walking with a stick. Osama firing a gun. Osama doing this. Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden. But they didn't tell you that the CIA had him on the payroll up until April of 2001. Yeah, Osama bin Laden and his family have been business partners with the Bush family since the 80s. Yeah, Osama bin Laden was a CIA asset. Yeah. Okay, so connect the dots, folks, and then ask the question, who benefits? All right. Well, they obviously had to say, okay, it was Islamic terrorist extremists with box cutters, razor blades. Yeah. Okay. And then they said that 11 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi Arabians. So what do? We bombed Afghanistan. That makes sense. Well, why would we do that? Well, if you look at it historically, the Taliban had taken control of Afghanistan, and they didn't want all of the dirty money from the heroin trade, and the Taliban was in the process of eradicating the poppy fields. Well, what do you know? We go in there, we bomb the snake snot out of Afghanistan, and put in a provisional government. And what do you know? The following year, Afghanistan had the biggest poppy crop in history. Are you connecting the dots? Are you putting the puzzle pieces together? So you have to ask the question about the 9/11 attack, who benefits? All right? So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. and just, let you folks hear about about some of these anomalies. Okay, and again, if you'd like to find out more information about that, please visit my website, davevonKleist.com, and you can click on either one of the documentaries that I made. The first one was 9/11 in Plain Sight, and that came out in 2004. And then the follow-up, the sequel, 9/11 Ripple Effect, and that came out in 2007, 2008, right in that area. So, because I'm asking questions, and I was asking questions based upon photographic and video evidence. And that's all I was doing, is asking questions. People said, "Hey, Dave, you're a conspiracy theorist." And I'd say, oh, really? What theory are you referring to? Because I don't have any theories. I mean, I can make assumptions, and it's not hard. They say, if you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. But the bottom line here is that when you take all of this information into consideration and connect the dots, it's not hard to start to figure out who benefited from the 9/11 attacks. So after that, guess what? We had a war on terror. Yeah. We had to have the Patriot Act, which created the Department of Homeland Security, which is an invasion of all your privacy. So, just connect the dots. So, anyway, and just as a reminder for those of you who don't know, on September 11th, that was the time when I was doing the Power Hour radio show on the GCN network with my wife at the time, Joyce Riley. And we were on the air that morning. And as I was getting ready to connect to the network, I was living in Missouri at the time, and went into my little makeshift studio, and I had my news stories, and I was putting my papers together. Here we go. Okay, got this story and that story. Okay, and then I connected to the network, and I believe the producer's name at the time was Jason. I can't remember his last name, but anyway, I connected. Oh, hi, Jason. How you doing? Oh, pretty good, Dave. Yeah, how's the signal? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it good? Yeah, levels sound good, Dave. Okay, crew. How much time have I got? About 30 seconds. Okay, let me think here. Oh, I got to turn on the TV monitors here. And I turned on the monitor for Fox, and I turned on the monitor for CBS. And when I looked up, and I saw that one of the towers was already hit. As a matter of fact, it had been hit at 8:46 Eastern Time. And I looked up, and I went, oh, my God, what's going on in New York? Holy crap, what is this? And I looked at the clock, and I'm on the air in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, listen carefully. Before we play any music or intro the show, I want you to run, don't walk to your television. Put in a tape and start taping any network that you can. So all over the country, people put videotapes in because we had, everybody had VCRs. So anyway, everybody put their tapes in and started to record. And 3 minutes later, at 9:03 Eastern Time, we've all seen the video footage where the second plane got hit. Okay. Anyway, needless to say, that was one hell of a day to broadcast. So now I fast forward about 2 weeks after the attack. GW was on television. And I remember him saying this, we got to stop showing these terrible attacks on America no more because America needs time to heal. So the networks stopped showing replays of the horrific attacks. And that's just the way, it was sort of like they got deep sixed. Okay. However, at that time, like I said, a lot of people all over the country, and we had, I think we had like 65 radio stations, AM, FM across the country, plus we were on the internet, plus we were on satellite, plus we were on international shortwave worldwide, plus we were on, maybe we weren't on XM at that time. But anyway, we had some pretty decent coverage at that time. So people all over the country were videotaping their local television stations. So right after GW said that, I realized that the networks were not going to give releases for any of the video footage. And ABC has ABC footage, NBC has NBC footage, CNN, Fox, they all have their own footage, but they're not releasing it because GW told them that we needed to heal. Well, at the same time, I started receiving videotapes in the mail. And I got a couple of boxes filled with videotapes, and guess what? I had all the footage. Not only ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and Fox, but I also had WOR, WJAR, WPIX, WNEW, all the local affiliate stations around New York and Connecticut. All right? I had all this footage. And when I started to go through the footage, that's when the top of my head blew off. I realized that there was something nefarious going on. And that's what led to me to create the documentary 9/11 in Plain Sight. And I would encourage you to go to my website, davevonKleist.com, and watch it. Okay? Now, again, I'm no deep researcher. I'm just a regular guy. I've been a musician, and I play guitar, and I just happen to have a voice for radio. And all of a sudden, here I am with all this video footage. I had no choice but to put this together and put it out there. And again, I didn't have any theories as to what happened. All I had was video and photographic evidence, and I was just asking questions. And maybe I didn't, maybe I went down a couple of bad rabbit trails, but then again, don't we all when you're trying to solve a crime? That's how you solve crime. You come up with a theory, and you try to research that, find documentation and evidence to support that. And sometimes, it's not 100%. But my gosh, the evidence, the photographs, the video were screaming that something else happened. So, and to this day, we don't know for sure who or what happened. Of course, they told us it was Osama bin Laden, the Taliban, and this and that and everything. But I don't believe that. Because the mainstream networks and your government has a very clear and consistent track record of lying to you. So if they're lying, it's up to you to figure out what the truth is. Anyway, I just wanted to go down history lane and prepare you because the anniversary, the 25th anniversary, is coming up in about 6 weeks. And I wanted to see if you might want to have a little bit of a different perspective. If all you've heard is what the mainstream told you, well, I would highly recommend that you go and watch the documentaries. You might want to watch 9/11 Ripple Effect. That's the sequel. That's when all the military people that came to me that I knew back in the 90s when Joyce and I were traveling around the country, trying to get help for the veterans from the first Gulf War. We made a lot of friends in the military and law enforcement. And because we were trying to do the right thing and help our veterans and our troops. So anyway, they started to contact me, and they said, Dave, you're asking some tough questions in your documentary. And I said, yeah, I know. You want to talk about it? And they went, yeah. So that's when I went and I interviewed different military people and airline pilots, including Russ Wittenberg, who was a regular pilot for United. And it just so happened that he was off duty that day. But his regular flight was Flight 175, which is the plane that we all saw, the second tower being hit. That was United Flight 175. He usually flew that route, but he was off that day. So, but anyway, so check it out. Go to my website, davevonKleist.com. Click on the 9/11 information, and watch 9/11 Ripple Effect. It will blow you away. I'll be right back.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And as always, you can get more information by visiting our website, thewtfreports.com. Click on the sponsors button. It'll take you down to an area where you can click on Get More Tank and get all the specifications and details about how and why this fuel catalyst works so well. Yeah, it's a good thing because it cleans up your engine. That's number one. Number two, right off the bat in the first tank, you will experience more power. When you hit your accelerator, when the light turns green, you'll almost experience G-forces. Your car or vehicle will jump from the starting line. So that's number two. But the biggie is number three. After running a few tanks with Get More Tank in it, you'll start to see an improvement in your mileage, which means money in your pocket. You'll see anywhere between 15 and 20% increase in your mileage depending upon your make, model, year of vehicle, and your driving habits. So do the math. With the promo code REDPILL101, you can buy a 5-pack. There are 5 tablets in the envelope for $20. Now, it's one pill or one tablet per tank. That's 5 tanks. If you're getting 20% better mileage, that means the 5th tank is free. Do the math. You spend $20 and you save a tank of gas. And plus your car has more power. And plus your car is running cleaner. That's good for the environment. This is a no-brainer, and it's a win-win situation, folks. So please visit our website, thewtfreports.com. Click on the sponsors page and get more tank. All right, it's 36 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And again, the phone line is open. If you know any network or any radio group or any news outlet, publication, what have you, anybody, any mainstream network or news outlet that has done any coverage whatsoever about the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, and the idea that we are turning our military hardware, our troops, our intelligence, everything over to Israel. If there's anybody that knows anything, please give me a call. I want to see it. 215-867-8255. All right. Now, you regular listeners know that for the past week or so, I've been covering all this issue about AI and the flock cameras and the drones and the robots. And, of course, all of this stuff will be linked into these data centers that they're desperate to get built all over this country. This is some scary crap, folks. As a matter of fact, on CNBC, I don't know who this guy is, but he almost lit his hair on fire trying to warn everybody about what's going on with AI. This is some scary stuff. And we've heard reports I think there was a report out of Japan that there were a couple of robots that they had manufactured that were being controlled by AI, and the robots went rogue and killed a couple of the scientists. I don't know all the details about this, but this is some scary stuff. Are we entering into a dystopian future that was basically visualized in the Terminator series with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Skynet? I mean, maybe that's exactly what's going on. But on CNBC, the following report was made. Check this out.
OpenAI has said that an autonomous agent, all right, let's start off with that, autonomous agent, powered by a new unreleased model, went rogue. Autonomous went rogue during testing and hacked, let's do hacked as well, hacked the infrastructure of AI startup Hugging Face last week. So far we've got something autonomous, rogue, hacking. Okay, so far so bad. But the incident discovered by Hugging Face came after the model, and this is where it gets really interesting for me, escaped from containment in a controlled environment. So not contained and not controlled. But it did it without the internet. Shall we recap? Autonomous, went rogue, hacked, escaped containment, no internet, but found the internet. It managed to reach the internet without having internet access.
Wow.
And it broke into the startup's infrastructure. No one else terrified? Just me. Okay, good. Right, in a blog post, OpenAI called it an unprecedented cyber incident and said the company was reinforcing its safeguards. Doesn't this, just for those of us out there who are, all right, we're behind the curve and we're a little bit scared about some of this technology, doesn't that just tick every single box? Autonomous, went rogue, hacked, escaped containment, didn't have the internet, found the internet, and then it was unprecedented. Thank goodness it was unprecedented. I'm glad there's nothing to see here for the wider market.
Nothing to see here. Just move on, folks. Can you see why I've been focusing on AI, data centers, robots, drones, robo-dogs? I mean, this is where we're going, folks. This is some scary times that we're living in right now. Scary times that we're living in right now. Anyway, let's see. In an unrelated topic, let me see if I can cue this up here. In New Jersey, let me see. Here it is. Yeah, I don't have a producer here where I can say, hey, cue up cut number 7. No, I don't have that. I got to do that while I'm live on the air, on the fly. So anyway, this is Governor Mickey Sherrill and for the state of New Jersey. And anyway, this is what she had to say. Wait till you hear this.
We are here to share information I learned of a few days ago. In June of 2023, nearly 3 years before I became governor, a serious software error in New Jersey's motor vehicle system led to the improper voter registration of what we believe to be roughly 6,600 people in our state. When New Jerseyans applied for a driver's license or identification at the MVC, they were asked if they wanted to register to vote. In the case of this error, some individuals indicated that they weren't citizens and weren't eligible to vote, but the software registered them anyway. The error in the software was corrected a year later in June of 2024. That is more than 2 years ago. I learned of this last Wednesday, and I immediately ordered my chief counsel to launch a comprehensive investigation. Currently, the Division of Elections is working to ensure anyone who is illegally registered is removed from the voter rolls. Initial analysis shows that fewer than 400 newly registered individuals voted in an election due to this software error.
Wow. Okay, so you just heard it from Governor Mickey Sherrill from the state of New Jersey, and that's one hell of a glitch. Yes, it is, but that's not the only thing. No, you remember Sidney Powell? Yeah, Sidney Powell was being interviewed on Fox News in regard to the 2020 election, and yeah, you remember she was summarily dismissed as a conspiracy theorist, and she was, deplatformed and ridiculed and disrespected, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now she was on Fox News with the following report. Listen to this.
Yes, well, he is listed as its former Admiral Peter Neffinger, or retired Admiral Peter Neffinger. He is president and on the board of directors of Smartmatic. And it just so happens he's on Mr. Biden's presidential transition team that's going to be non-existent because we're fixing to overturn the results of the election in multiple states. And President Trump won by not just hundreds of thousands of votes, but by millions of votes that were shifted by this software that was designed expressly for that purpose. We have sworn witness testimony of why the software was designed. It was designed to rig elections. He was fully briefed on it. He saw it happen in other countries. It was exported internationally for profit by the people that are behind Smartmatic and Dominion. They did this on purpose. It was calculated. They've done it before. We have evidence from 2016 in California. We have so much evidence, I feel like it's coming in through a fire hose.
Okay, now, she made that report some time ago, but now, since that time, more and more information is coming out, and no, she was not wrong. Absolutely not. So, let me see. There was another thing having to do with the election. Oh, yes. Let's see. OAN reported the following. And let's see, has to do with data from Edison Research of Dominion, the Dominion voting machines across the United States during the 2020 election, exposing that around 2.7 million Trump votes were deleted, including about 1 million in Pennsylvania alone. Anyway, here's a report that was on OAN. Here it is.
Election systems across the U.S. are found to have deleted millions of votes cast for President Trump. According to an unaudited analysis of data obtained from Edison Research, states using Dominion voting systems may have switched as many as 435,000 votes from President Trump to Joe Biden. Now, the author also finds another 2.7 million Trump votes appear to have been deleted by Dominion, including almost 1 million votes in Pennsylvania
alone. Okay, in Pennsylvania alone. So it looks like, Trump did address this issue last Thursday when he addressed the nation in his 25-minute speech. And I remind you that some of the mainstream networks decided in their omnipotent wisdom not to cover President Trump's live address to the nation. Okay? So saying that they knew he was going to be full of lies and misinformation and propaganda, so we refuse to show anything that Trump man would say. But of course, after he was done, they wasted no time to get on there to critique him and to challenge anything that he had to say. But they don't want you to hear it for your own ears. But he did address this issue of the election problem. Of course, he had a lot to do with a lot of references to China. Whoa, hold on a second. There we go. Anyway, so again, it's the mainstream networks is just pulling the wool over your eyes. They're lying to you. They're manipulating. And like I said, sometimes it's not what they tell you, because we know that they're lying. It's the stuff that they don't tell you. They won't even cover the story. And in this case, this is one of them. This issue about the election fraud of 2020, they don't want to touch that because they're going to have to basically back up and say, I guess we were wrong. And they'll never do that. It's like a lot of people, unfortunately, are suffering from TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. And, as Mark Twain said, it's always easier to fool people than it is to convince them that they've been fooled. And I'll tell you, ego and pride play a major part of this. Absolutely. Because people would rather, they'd rather fall on their own sword than to admit that they were snookered or they were wrong or they were manipulated or whatever. But anyway, let's see. We got time here. Oh, yeah. Once more, phone number is 215-867-8255. Oh, and before I move into another topic here, I want to remind you that this issue about the NDA, this is so doggone important. I actually contacted my senators, and I'm in the state of Montana. It was Tim Sheehy and Steve Daines. Now, I never heard back from Steve Daines' office, but I did hear back from Tim Sheehy's office. Now, I contacted him right after this thing became a topic of discussion. It's almost 2 months now. So I contacted Tim Sheehy's office. And Tim Sheehy, for those of you who remember the video of a Marine who was standing up and screaming that we've got to stop attacking Palestine, and he was being hauled out of the hearing room, and he was holding on to the door, and it was Tim Sheehy that pulled him so hard that it broke this Marine's arm. That's my senator, Tim Sheehy, who, of course, campaigned, and I was very, he sounded like a good guy to me, And, but boy, once he gets into office, my, how the worm turns. But anyway, so I contacted Tim Sheehy's office, and I told them specifically I want to know what his stand is on the NDAA, specifically Section 224. And Section 224 is the section where it discusses merging the Israeli military with the United States military. I wanted to know what his stand is on that particular and specific issue. Well, I did get a letter back a couple weeks later from his office, and nowhere in that letter did it even refer to Section 224. It was just a mouthful of word salad. So I'm curious if that's another reason. If you've got, if you contacted your representative or your senator in this regard and you heard back, I want to hear from you. 215-867-8255. And I encourage everybody, please keep calling your senators and your Congress members. Call them. I've done that. I've left messages. I let them know how I feel because this is irrefutable, undeniable, definitive, pharmaceutical grade treason There's no other way to do it, to express this. When you take your military, your sovereign, military, and turn it over to another country, especially Israel, this is treason. It's absolute treason. And yet the mainstream media will tell you, oh, China's the real threat. China's trying to take over. It was China that threw the elections. It was China that did this. China. Oh, yeah, Russia. But the bottom line here is you don't have to look very far to see if there is another country, or shall I say a state, because it's not really a country, it's a state. If there's another state that is influencing many, many different aspects of our country, it's not hard to figure out which one it is. And no, it's not about, anti-Semitism or hating a particular religious group, but because that's what they fall back on. If you criticize or draw attention, you're immediately labeled. But it's got nothing to do with that. They want you to do that. They want you to go down that road. Anyway, let's see here. We got a couple of minutes left. Getting back to this issue about these flock cameras, this is so doggone important, folks, because this is the camel's nose under the tent. If we allow these flock cameras to continue to be put up all over our country, we're in deep crap, because they're not just taking pictures of license plates. No. They are equipped with facial recognition, and many of them are able to go on Bluetooth. And if you've got any type of a cell phone or a tablet or a computer that is Bluetooth capable, they can get into your stuff. Anyway, and not only that, but they're also spying on your children. These are sick people, folks. Listen to this. Oh, sorry. Let me start that over here.
The VP of Flock Safety allegedly watched the camera feed of a children's gymnasium. In April, the Dunwoody, Georgia City Council voted unanimously to approve a new contract with Flock Safety. Dunwoody's JCC had shared their cameras with police under the agreement that access was only for emergency incident. And Flock Safety's website states that nobody from Flock Safety is assessing or monitoring your footage. Yet a resident of Dunwoody, Jason Hunyer, alleges a VP of Flock accessed the city's footage over 185 times. On September 30th, 2025, he logged into the cameras recording the children's gymnastics room at the JCC. Another Flock employee seems to have watched a camera feed of the JCC pool. Flock has confirmed the cameras were accessed as part of a sales demonstration. Despite all of this information, on April 13th, the City Council unanimously voted to approve a $15,000 Flock OS 911 contract and a $200,000 agreement to use the company's drone program. But this isn't the only concerning report regarding Flock cameras. In April, the Institute for Justice found 24 cases of police officers using license plate readers like Flock to stalk romantic interests. The Institute also states it believes this to be an undercount.
So they're using the Flock cameras, they say, for license plates, but what the heck are they doing looking at a gymnasium with children or a swimming pool with children? Let that settle in. And then we stop and think about how much pedophilia is going on in this country. This is some sick stuff, folks. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take for folks to roll up their sleeves and get busy. Government of, by, and for the people. Well, when the people are silent, then you're just going to let the government and these businesses do whatever they want to do. Okay, and let's see. Here's a report from ABC Channel 13 in Conroe, Texas. Listen to this one.
People in Conroe just wanted to know where the information collected by Flock cameras around town was going. But as we told you in April, a man told us he had paid the city more than $1,000, and leaders still would not release the information he was looking for.
But now, after taking the fight all the way to the state attorney general's office, the AG has ordered the city to release those documents. ABC 13's Liliana Pearson is in our newsroom to explain why this is such a big deal. Liliana?
James Fleet is the person who filed these open records. He tells me that this is a step in the right direction, but he also tells me that now the clock is ticking and the city of Conroe only has a few business days left before they have to turn over that information as ordered by the Attorney General's office. In documents obtained by ABC 13, the Texas Attorney General's office orders the city of Conroe to release some of the information they sought to withhold from James Fleetus about Flock cameras. According to Flock's website, their cameras read license plates, and that information can be accessed by partner agencies like law enforcement to help find stolen vehicles or missing people. But Flock has grown increasingly controversial as people have argued the cameras pose privacy and data sharing security risks. We've even reported on law enforcement being accused of misusing the technology.
Tired of being
Fleetus telling us in April, all the residents of Conroe want is some transparency.
Everybody in the community wants to feel safe. Everybody agrees that, maybe this could be something that could help the community with hit and runs, kidnappings, things like that. To me, I just haven't seen the data that proves that.
Fleetus says he made an open records request in March, asking for the contracts, emails, and information about how Flock data is used and shared. Fleetus says he crowdfunded the $1,200 the city said the request would cost to fulfill, but after paying, the city sent some of the requests to the Attorney General in an attempt to withhold that information. The city's request says they want to withhold information about crimes involving children, crimes still under investigation, and, quote, proprietary information provided by Flock Safety.
Frustrated, to tell you the truth, but I'm not tired, and I'm not going to stop.
The AG ruled the city does not have to release some information about certain crimes, but other information, like how Flock provides their services, has to be made public.
Everybody in the community wants
It's a ruling Fleetus is calling a win. And the AG made this ruling on July 13th, meaning that there's just a few business days left before Fleetus has to get that information as ordered by the Attorney General. I have also reached out to the city of Conroe. I'm waiting to hear back. I'm Liliana Pearson, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Interesting. So you want to talk about abuse of power and an invasion of privacy? Yeah. All right, let me see. I only got a couple of minutes left here. As just as a reminder that you can always access these broadcasts by going to our website, thewtfreports.com. Now, also as of late, I'm also making videos, okay, real honest-to-God podcasts where you can see with your own eyes the documents and the video clips that I'm sharing with you on this broadcast. So if you're listening on Red State Talk Radio, or if you're listening to one of the archives on our website, thewtfreports.com, you can also access the videos. They're posted on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, etc., etc. And again, it's because I want to share the video evidence, the documentation. You could see it with your own eyes. So you can't say, oh, Dave said this, and Dave's blowing smoke, and Dave is a conspiracy theorist. Okay, yeah, have at it. Anyway, let's see. We got just about a minute and a half left. I would humbly respect, for those regular listeners out there, I need your support, because it costs money to do this program, and it also costs money to be able to get this broadcast. I'd love to be able to do this broadcast live on Rumble and BitChute and Facebook, but man, that costs big dollars every month. So if you'd like to help out with the effort, we do have a GoFundMe at our website, thewtfreports.com. You can help us out, but you can also help us out by doing business with our sponsors. Yeah, there's Get More Tank. There's the Wave Watch, which I didn't even talk about today. The Wave Watch, what a great piece of technology. A rifle machine you wear on your wrist. Go to our website, thewtfreports.com. Click on, and you'll see a pop-up there for the Wave Watch. Anyway, all right, that hour went by quickly. All right, folks, if you appreciate this broadcast and you're listening on BitChute or Rumble or YouTube or Facebook or whatever, you know what to do. I really appreciate it if you click like, share, and subscribe. And above all else, share it by word of mouth to your friends, your family, your coworkers, and the person at the checkout counter at the grocery store. Doesn't make any difference. Hey, check out the WTFreports.com. All right, that said, so much for the Wednesday hump day, don't be a chump day, and don't ever crump day version of the WTF Reports. So, if you're listening, thank you so much. God bless you all. Stay safe. Stay free. Stay smart. Stay aware. And God willing, I'll see you tomorrow.